Okay. Hi, my name's Chris Glover, and I'm the MPP for Spadina Fort York, and I'm joined today with Doug Van Frazen, Tracy Lacey, and Tori Lacey. And we're talking about this illness, this rare degenerative illness called SMA, and the Spinraza, which is the medication that can actually arrest the degeneration that's caused by this illness. I'm gonna say a few things, and then we'll pass it along. When I became an MPP a year ago, it really struck me how the decisions that we make in this legislature can have the power of life and death over for people. And this is one of those cases today. This illness is a degenerative illness, and it will mean that the young people that have this illness, they will slowly lose their mobility until they lose their ability to actually breathe. And there's a medication that's available that would actually arrest that degeneration. And I've spoken with the parents. I'm absolutely shocked that the government and the pharmaceutical company are not in negotiations yet to find a way to make this medication available to the people who need it. It's been approved by the Federal Drug Agency. It's been approved by the Quebec Drug Agency. It's available both in Quebec and Saskatchewan, and it's been approved in 47 other countries. So we know this medication actually is safe. We know that it works. As a parent of children, I can't imagine the frustration of having a child with an illness and watching that child slowly degenerate through this illness and having a drug available and not getting the drug, not having a drug that is available, but not being able to afford the drug because each injection costs $125,000, and in the first year you need 6 injections. So my role here, the reason that I'm here and the reason that I've helped to organize this press conference is because I want to shame both the government and the pharmaceutical company to sit down and start negotiating to find a way to get this medication to the people that need it. Okay. Thank you, and I'll pass it to Doug next.
Hi, I'm Doug Van Frazen, father of Rebecca Van Frazen, who's a 19-year-old young lady with spinal muscular atrophy. She's going into her 3rd year at Ontario College of Arts, and she's in the animation program. She's an exceptional artist that excels in sketching, painting, and sculpture. Her work is absolutely amazing. She has been chosen in a select group to further her studies in Florence, Italy next year. And her life goal is to create work that makes a difference. SMA, as you have heard, is a horrific disease. It takes away physical abilities like walking, swimming, sketching, painting, eating, and breathing. It is a death sentence. Rebecca's life has been challenging. She loses an ability like being able to reach her hand above her head to reach for something, and before she has time to process or grieve that loss, she loses something else. Her life has no stability, and a tremendous amount of anxiety and stress on what her future holds. It is inspiring to see her relentlessly battle through her circumstances. Despite being in a power wheelchair, having very little arm strength and barely the strength to keep her head up, she lives independently on her own in her apartment. She makes her own food. She transfers herself in and out of bed, and she gets herself ready. She doesn't leave the apartment unless she has herself looking fantastic. She's hanging on to these abilities through sheer willpower and has defied everything that everybody has told her she couldn't do. Her determination infects everyone around her. And 15 years ago, we set upon a goal to find a cure. Through various fundraising, we've raised over $3 million and had it earmarked directly for research for a cure. Privately, at the time, we were told by scientists that the task was too difficult and would be highly unlikely they would be able to solve this problem in our lifetime. But we would not let SMA take away our hope. But in the end, even Rebecca's willpower cannot stop the ravages of this unrelenting disease. She is on the cusp of losing everything that matters to her. But now we have Spinraza. The seed money that we raised helped identify and further the science on the cells that weren't working properly, and it led to the screening of compounds that we expected would produce possible treatments. The progress was so great that the pharmaceutical companies took note, invested, and in the end was able to produce Spinraza. It's a miracle drug. It is a life preserver for the people drowning in this vicious disease. Spinraza was approved by the FDA in 2016 and Health Canada in 2017. Patients from all over the world have been on this treatment for years, and it's no longer a question of whether it is safe or effective. That's 47 countries and 2 provinces have approved access for their citizens. Quebec, yes. Saskatchewan, yes. But Ontario, not yet. The Ontario Health Insurance Program is grappling with the cost. They have not yet been able to negotiate an acceptable price with the pharmaceutical company Biogen. Although the funding is being approved for the youngest patients, it's not for Tori and it's not for Rebecca. They are not prioritized to be saved. They're too old and they're from the wrong province. In their case, the life preserver Spinraza sits on the shelf. That is not what the people from Ontario want. We do appreciate fiscal responsibility, but when we see somebody drowning, we throw them a life preserver and worry about the cost later. Rebecca and Tori are drowning. Take the life preserver Spinraza and toss it to them. Save them. We cannot keep asking patients like Tori and Rebecca to come to these events and beg for their lives. Beg for the medicine that's sitting on the shelf that they know works. The message to them is that their lives are not worth the cost. This has gone on too long. They deserve a different answer. Of course we're going to save you. As they wait, they continue to drown. I can only imagine that they are not saved yet because not enough people are aware. They need the media to get the story out. Please report on this. When the custodians of our healthcare system are made aware, they will do what the citizens would expect of them. They will lock themselves in a room with Biogen and not come out until they have a solution to provide Spinraza to Rebecca and to Tori and to everybody else suffering from spinal muscular atrophy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tracy?
21 years ago, our daughter Tori was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy. It was a rare disease with no treatment and no cure at the time. We were told that she would not survive. 1 month after her diagnosis, we started fundraising. And over the past 20 years, we have raised over $1.2 million that went directly to research, so that one day our daughter and all other individuals with SMA would have access to a treatment that would allow them to continue to live and hopefully improve their quality of life. 2.5 years ago, our prayers were finally answered, and Health Canada approved Spinraza for use in all ages and all types of SMA. Our family went out and celebrated that night. 20 years of fundraising, and the day was finally here. We believed that treatment would begin in a matter of weeks. We had no idea that the fight ahead of us was just beginning. Like most Canadians, we believed that we had the best healthcare system in the world, and that our government cares about every Canadian. We were shocked to find out that a dollar value is placed on every Canadian's life, and that if the drug is too costly, they decide that your life just isn't worth saving. In the world of rare diseases, SMA hit the jackpot, as they are one of the few rare diseases that have found an effective treatment, and yet our government is failing to cover the cost of this drug for everyone affected by this disease. Basically, they are saying if you are over the age of 12, your life is not worth saving. The government is not disputing whether or not this drug works on individuals over the age of 12. They know it works. They are simply stating that it costs too much money. This decision leaves approximately 1/4 of the population untreated, including our daughter Tori and Rebecca. Today, 47 countries and the province of Quebec and Saskatchewan have approved Spinraza for SMA patients of all ages. The rest of the world has decided that their citizens matter. We are not asking the government to fund a treatment that will prolong a life for a few extra years. We are asking them to fund a drug that will completely stop the progression of disease, give the patient back some of their lost function, and allow them to live. Every individual today that is receiving Spinraza will testify to you that this drug is a miracle drug and that they are gaining function back after every single injection. Denying anyone access to treatment based on age is unethical, discriminatory, and a violation under the Human Rights Act. Our daughter is a fourth-year university student, and when we began this fight 2 years ago, she had the ability to feed herself, to use a computer, to complete homework, and to scratch her nose. Today, she has lost all of those abilities. Without Spinraza, her disease will continue to progress, and she will lose the ability to simply drive her chair, robbing her of the little independence that she still has left. Without treatment, this disease will continue to progress until she no longer has the ability to eat or even breathe on her own. Our government has the power to save the life of every person with SMA, yet they would like to leave a small percentage behind so that they can save a few dollars. The result of this decision has left our family with very few options. We could either watch our daughter progress until she died, or we could sell our assets, remortgage our house, and begin paying for the treatment out of pocket. So far, we have personally spent $480,000 to fund this drug. Tori began treatment 60 days ago. Her disease has stopped progressing, and she is making some gains. She has more energy and more stamina. She is able to stay off of her ventilator at night for 2 hours, something that she has not accomplished in 15 years. And for the first time, she can squeeze my hand. Her 4th injection is scheduled on Wednesday, and then our family will be out of money. We have 4 months to raise enough money through a GoFundMe page in order to continue treatment for her. This is not a viable solution, and no family should be put in this situation, not in Canada. We have begged the government to do the right thing, but so far no one's listening.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Tori, you're up.
Hi, my name is Tori Lacey. I'm 21 years old, and I'm a 4th-year student at Ryerson University. Day to day, I'm just your average 21-year-old, juggling school, work, and a busy social life, but behind the scenes, I deal with so much more. This is because I was born with SMA, which is a disease that makes my muscles progressively weaker every day. Many people like to think of this disease as a childhood version of ALS. Putting my experience into words is not simple, but I will say this. Living with my disease has not been an easy journey. As a young child, I developed many respiratory infections due to my weak lungs. This resulted in 7 pneumonias and 1 collapsed lung. My parents had to be stronger than imaginable and stay at the hospital with me for months on end, fighting many doctors who asked them to sign a DNR because I would never have a quality of life. My two older sisters, at such a young and impressionable age, had to take a backseat on being a kid, because my parents were so consumed with keeping me healthy and alive every single day. I'm happy to say that advancement in medical technology has made my lungs a little bit stronger since, but my muscles are still failing me as we speak. At the present, I cannot feed myself, I cannot scratch my nose, and I cannot hug my loved ones. I actually only have the use of 2 fingers on my right hand, which is just enough for me to drive my wheelchair and type on my phone and tablet to do my homework. Living with SMA can be quite painful, not only physically but emotionally. When you're born with a degenerative disease like SMA, you mourn the loss of every ability you lose, as that is one more piece of independence and dignity taken away from you, and one step closer to your death day. I will be honest, it hurts to see my loved ones take care of me 24/7. It hurts to see my friends, my sisters, and my cousins grow up and start their own families, while I sit here and wonder if my body will ever be strong enough to do that. But most of all, it hurts to have to fight for my life, for a government who doesn't see the value in giving me access to a treatment that will literally save my life and stop the progression of my disease in its tracks. A treatment that can even reverse some of the progression that I've already lost and give me back some of the independence I so desperately strive for as a 21-year-old. Up until 2 years ago, I truly thought the Ontario government cared about its citizens. Now I know that's not true. My friends and I have been sitting here, patiently waiting while our bodies are literally falling apart, while the Ontario government decides if our lives are worthy of saving. In that time, my friends all over the world have been accessing this treatment and getting stronger every day. Even 2 of our very own provinces, Ontario and Saskatchewan, are letting everyone with SMA access this treatment. But for those of us living in Ontario, our government has told us loud and clear, saving money is more important than saving our lives. Christine Elliott, Suzanne McGurn, and all the other decision makers in Ontario, I am begging you, please let me have access to this treatment. I've lived 19 years of my life with nothing on the horizon that could help me. 19 years of tireless fundraisers for emerging researchers, which by miracle actually resulted in something positive for the SMA community. It has been stated that 94% of rare diseases never find a treatment. So for the 6% of us that are that lucky, finding the treatment should have been the hardest part, not finding the money. I have my whole life ahead of me. I'll be graduating university next spring and hope to pursue a career in accessibility and inclusion in the arts. I have a nephew being born in September, and I hope to play an active role in his life and watch him grow up. I want to travel the world, get married, and start a family. Being diagnosed with SMA plays a big part in my life, but it's not everything. People with SMA are people, and we deserve a chance to be valued, loved, and appreciated just as much as the next person. We have hopes and dreams for our futures. Please help us. The solution is right in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tori. I'll just wrap up and then we'll open up for questions. I think what's before us here is a question of our values as Ontarians. Do we want to stand up with these people? The family members here, Doug and Tracy and the families have done everything that they could do. The young women, Rebecca and Tori, have done everything that they can do. They actually helped to fundraise the money to create the drug that is available now that they cannot afford. And so the real question is, as Ontarians, will we stand up with these families? Will we help them to get the medication that they need? And will the government sit down with the pharmaceutical company and start to negotiate a deal so that these young women can get the medication and all the people with SMA can get the medication that they need? And so I'm going to make a call out to anybody who hears this story or listens to this story. Would you please, if you've been touched by this story, please pick up your phone or send an email to your member of provincial parliament and tell them to sit down to force the government to sit down with the pharmaceutical company and begin negotiations. These families, this drug has been available for 2.5 years, and these families have not been able to access it, and the young women's condition is deteriorating day by day. So we absolutely need this. This is an urgent situation, and we need to act now. Thank you. I'll open up for questions.
Chris, Doug is correct. The reason why this room is not full with people wanting an answer is because not enough people know about SMA
Right.
or understand SMA. The families have talked for years. The media has covered this story, different stations. It's now up to people like you, politicians, to go and kick open a door
Yep.
and make the people on the other side of that room understand that this has to happen, and it has to happen now. So, I hate to say that this falls into your hands, but I don't know where else the families could go.
Right. Now, you're absolutely right, and I will do everything I can with the position that I have to make sure that this drug becomes available. I'm in the opposition. We need the government to act. We need Christine Elliott to sit down immediately and start negotiating with this pharmaceutical company to make a deal. So it's absolutely, you're right. As legislators, we have an obligation to do this, and I will advocate as strongly as I can. And if we were in government, we would be sitting down. I would make absolutely sure that my party, the NDP, would be sitting down and negotiating right now and find a way to make sure this drug becomes available to these families.
What else can be done to convince the health minister? I mean, I've sent emails today to Christine and received all these form email responses back that say nothing.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to get in front of her face and say, people are going to die, and this is not supposed to be what we're about as a province.
You know what? I think that's what we'll have to do next. We've had the press. We're having the press conference today, so maybe the next step is that we try to find Christine Elliott in the legislature and we confront her, with this situation and ask her to take action and ask her for a timeline. When will she start negotiating with this pharmaceutical company?
The young lady Tori here just literally begged for her life
Yep.
because the drug is available. I can't believe I heard that from a young woman from Ontario.
Yeah. No, I know. It's absolutely appalling. Until, 6 months ago, I think, I didn't know about this situation. I didn't know of this illness. And now that I know, I feel I have an obligation. I think everybody who finds out about this has an obligation to advocate on behalf of these young women, and everybody else who has this illness to get the drug, to make the drug available that is already there. It's just not affordable right now. And our government's not negotiating, it's not setting it up so that it will become available to them.
Doug, where else can you go? How louder can you be? How more convincing can you be?
I mean, that's something that we have discussions on a daily basis, and my wife Teresa, who's on the board of the charity, it's just an ongoing, and we feel like it's a difficult situation we're in because it's such a small group. It's an orphan disease, and the people that are most effective are the busiest people because they have family to take care of, and so they're stretched so thin, and they become caregivers, so they're not experts on science and they're not experts on working your way through media or working your way through politics. So, and we don't have paid positions to access that kind of expertise that we need.
Do you ever ask yourself, am I really living in Ontario?
All the time.
I just think that it's more complicated, this situation, because there's so much to it and there's so much history that it's not like seeing somebody drowning in a lake, which is exactly what's happening, or somebody lost at sea, or somebody caught in an avalanche. When that happens, we go like this. Everybody from Ontario, politicians, everybody. We save people. I read about it all the time. It's just a call to action. Volunteers, anybody will do anything. They don't ask about how much it costs. So I just don't think that people see that these girls are, what's happening.
How do you shame somebody or a government into helping out here?
Well, I'm hoping this press conference will do it. I'm hoping that this will actually shame both the government and the pharmaceutical company, because they both need to sit down. Well, we'll try to make them see it, and we'll send it out to them afterwards as well, and we'll make sure, we'll just keep putting the pressure on. So the press conference is one step, and then these families have been taking many, many steps in this fight over the last 2.5 years, and this is the first step for me, but it's not the last step. I'm going to keep advocating with these families until their children get the drugs that they need.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, guys.